This time I've brought 160 Americans, most of whom are here for the first time. And of course they're here to see sites that are historical and biblical, but they're also here to get a flavor of contemporary Israel and what it's like living here. What are the security concerns? What are the vulnerabilities of Israel? And I love coming to Israel and seeing it through the eyes of somebody who's never been, because it gives me a fresh new understanding of what I call the aha factor, when people come and they realize, my gosh, the separation between Israeli and Palestinian is a fence, or the separation between Israel and maybe a neighboring nation, the whole width of Israel is 10 miles in some places. And when they think of this entire country that is the size of New Jersey, and yet it maintains an extraordinary level of economic and technological depth and power, I think it gives people a new appreciation for what this country is.
Maybe you'd like to take some of the current administration on your visit. Maybe you could influence them. What are you seeing about what's going on with the relations between Israel and America? Is it getting better, worse? What is your observation?
I think there's more tension. When I'm in Israel, a lot of Israelis are concerned that the President of the United States and Congress is not giving a clear indication of their support to make sure that Iran does not develop nuclear weaponry. While we say that, I think they want to make sure that that is absolutely going to be a steadfast commitment on the part of the United States. When the American government puts pressure on Israelis to stop all settlements, but they don't put any type of pressure on the Palestinians to come to the table with something as well as that for a concession, I think it gives a lot of Israelis concern that they're being asked to make extraordinary concessions with no guarantee that they'll be given anything in return.
Putting ideology aside, on a tactical level, how do you see the recent moves by the Israeli government, the construction freeze, the gestures, there were the blocks that were removed? How do you see this on the tactical level?
The Israeli government is clearly trying to show good faith. I think they're trying to demonstrate that they are not unwilling to make necessary moves to bring what they hope will be peace. The Israelis have every right to make whatever decisions they wish to make. I wouldn't advise the Israeli government. They haven't asked me, and it would be inappropriate for me to do so. From a standpoint of an American, I would never feel that the American people have a right to encourage the Israelis to give up their land for peace. So one thing I've said is that I want to assure Israelis that that is not the prevailing view in America, that we expect them to give up their territories, their neighborhoods, their homes, with a hope, no guarantees, but with a hope that they might get some peace from it, because historically when they've given up their land, they have not been greeted with peace. They've been greeted with increasing levels of violence. And the one thing that has brought some peace is the construction of the fence, which has eliminated the suicide bomber here. That's a real benefit to the Israeli families who used to be threatened every time they took their children to get an ice cream cone.
So that's on the tactical level. On the ideological level, do you think, I mean, we know that you're very connected also in terms of the spiritual connection of the Jewish people to the land of Israel. Can you promote and present Israel's case without expressing that?
Oh, certainly you can. I mean, I think for many of us, we understand the spiritual quality, but I just came from Yad Vashem. I've spent the morning there. How can anyone go through Yad Vashem and not understand that the Jewish people were on the brink of extinction? Not because they were fanatic religious people, but because they were Jewish. Israel was established to give the Jewish people a place of refuge and safety. Is that too much to ask, especially when they're occupying 8,000 square miles, that's it, in the entire planet? I don't think anybody rationally can say, well, they just have too doggone much territory. They have too much land. They have too much of what? They have to pump their water in every way possible and squeeze every possible benefit of every drop. They essentially took over a desert. They've turned it green. They've fed themselves and fed half the world from it. Their technology is unbelievable, number 2 in patents worldwide. If anything, the world should say thank you, Israel, for establishing not just a place of refuge, but a place really that has been an influence to the rest of the world.
And you do feel there is also the spiritual connection?
Well, there's certainly a spiritual connection, and I think what's important to realize is that Israel is the spiritual home for both Jews and Christians, and its significance to Muslims as well. So all 3 of the major world religions have not only presence here, but have a special connection to Israel, specifically to Jerusalem. And the Israeli government, to their credit, has been very accommodating to not only be a Jewish homeland, but to welcome people of the Christian faith to come and experience what's important for them. And the fact that they have maintained a peaceful environment on which the Dome of the Rock is able to continue to function for worshiping Muslims and the protection of the mosque is an example in which they have demonstrated good faith to the Muslims as well.
Some say split the capital so each religion can have their own part.
I don't think it's necessary to split the capital. I mean, I don't see anyone suggesting that Washington, D.C. be split, half of it governed by Democrats and half by Republicans. Right now it's not governed by anybody. It's pretty much a lawless land of insanity. But the point being that you can't have 2 people trying to govern the same piece of real estate at the same time. It's not realistic. And I think the smart move is to recognize that Israel is at its best when it has some unity, but it has protection, and that the people, regardless of who they are, can come and go here in a degree of safety and security.